Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate the launch of the Caribbean Index, which is a collaborative effort among the 5 regional exchanges, namely Jamaica, Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, Guyana, and the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. So before we launch, let me just give a little background. What is an index and why is it important? Stock market indices measure the performance of a grouping or basket of individual stocks. They are often used as benchmarks for mutual funds, investment trusts, and other vehicles that trade a portfolio of equities. Beyond that, these indices can be key indicators of financial health and business trends, whether you're looking at a particular industry, the stock market overall, the entire economy, or, in our instance, the aggregate of a Caribbean market and economy. According to the Index Industry Association, there are more than 3 million stock market indices, including bonds, worldwide. Some are well known and often quoted, like the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Others are more obscure, followed mainly by financial professionals. Already, the TTSE has a suite of indices that were created over our 40-year history, starting off with the TNT Index, which measures the performance of all companies listed on the stock exchange. With the prevalence of cross-listing later in 1995, the index was renamed the TTSE Composite Index, and 2 new indices created, namely the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange All TNT Index and the TTSE Cross-Listed Index. As the name suggests, the TTSE All TNT Index tracks the performance of local companies denominated in TNT currency. While the TTSE Cross-Listed Index tracks the performance of companies listed on the TTSE whose primary jurisdiction is not Trinidad and Tobago, those companies are and at least listed on one other exchange in the Caribbean. There is also the SME Index, which was created in 2017, which tracks the performance of the companies listed within that particular market. Additionally, the TTSE reports on a number of sector indices. The Jamaican Stock Exchange has similar indices, but interestingly, they report an index that tracks the performance of the 15 most liquid stocks, as well as indices that track a number of sectors as well. And likewise, the Barbados Stock Exchange reports on a composite, a local, and a cross-listed. Both the Guyana Stock Exchange and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange reports an index mapping the performance of all equity securities. So we have a background, but how did we get here? The genesis of the Caribbean Index started at a meeting between myself and Dr. Street Forrest at the office of the Jamaican Stock Exchange earlier this year, in January, where we sat down to discuss some strategic items that aligned both entities. We spoke on a number of items, but most relevant for today, we discussed the steps taken in the past towards regional integration and the benefits of it to our capital markets. One such initiative was the Caribbean Exchange, known as the CXN, which did not materialize, but now looking back, some may wonder or may say that it may have been ahead of its time. Hopefully, as we seek to deepen our relationship with each other, the CXN can become a reality sometime in the future. But in the interim, we must overcome some of the challenges that prevented us in the past, as the benefits of us acting as a region far outweighs the values in us acting in silos. The Caribbean Index is a step towards this. The intent of the Caribbean Index is to provide all investors, both regionally and internationally, with an indicator of the performance of the Caribbean region. It consolidates the activity of the main market stocks across the different exchanges into a single unit of measurement which can be tracked and monitored. The Caribbean Index will be available on all partnering exchanges. The index has the potential to attract more capital toward the region by being a bellwether for international investors looking for opportunities within the Caribbean. It gives an aggregate view of the financial health of the Caribbean and can help the region's small-sized economies attract the much-needed capital and build economic resilience. The framework, importantly, governing the index is in keeping with best practice, having adopted IOSCO standards. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we launch today, October 21st, 2022, I would like to invite the Honorable Colm Imbert, Minister of Finance, onto the stage with me, our regional heads of the stock exchanges, Dr. Marlene Street Forrest of the Jamaican Stock Exchange, Marlon Yard of the Barbados Stock Exchange, Trevor Blake of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, George Edwards of the Guyana Stock Exchange. Everyone on stage with me to officially launch this index.
Whilst they're making their way on stage and positioning for this special moment, members of the audience, we're going to wake you up just a bit because fiscal policy dictates that we should be able to count down from 5 to 1 together. So stand by. Here we go, folks, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the countdown to the ceremonial launch of the regional index. We go to the screens and the sound for a moment. Here we go. 5. Join us. 4. Again. 3. Here we go. 2. 1. Congratulations all. Thank you, Minister. Thank you to all members of the Stock Exchange on stage from the region.